We lacked imagination. We have never been faced with an enemy who tells us exactly what they want to do, how they want to do it, why they hate us, what they're going to do about their hate about us. They not only tell us about it, they send video releases to Al Jazeera to air it worldwide, they write press releases about it, they air videos about it on the internet. There's no excuse today to say we lack imagination about what is threatening our country. Because I am here to tell you my past is America's future unless America wakes up today and turns the ship around. Because all we have to do is look at what happened in Europe. And before I get into what's happening in Europe, I am privileged tonight to have someone very special here in the audience. Somebody who survived the massacre of the Moor that I just said to you that happened in 1975 in Lebanon. One of the oldest massacres. When the people of the Moor were being massacred, ISIS didn't even exist. When they were hanging people on crosses, they were doing it before ISIS even was a name that we were familiar with. I have a lady here who survived that massacre. The only survivor out of that whole city who ended up in the United States because they shot her in her face, destroyed her face. She tried to hit her hand over her eyes. They cut off her hand, it fell off, her jaw fell off. They killed her brother and sister in front of her, shot her mother in the back, and left her for dead for 24 hours thinking she's dead. Until finally the Christians came back to see who's dead and who's alive, and they found her, put her in a blanket, and rushed her to a hospital. She lives here in this area. She's actually about to go into her 34 or 35th surgery to reconstruct her face, and they can only do it at the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota because even in Boston they don't have the ability to do it. Think about that. 35 surgeries later, over 40 years. I had the privilege of having dinner with her tonight and her husband. She's a professor at 2 prominent universities in the area. And I would like to recognize Monique to stand up. Monique, stand up. I want you to see her because she is an example of what survivalist is all about, and what we were talking earlier about when you talk about injuries. There's a difference between somebody injured, they had to go to the emergency room, and somebody undergoing 35 surgeries over 40 years as a survivor, coming to the United States, getting 2 bachelor's degrees, 2 master's degrees, and speaking at, can we say the name of the universities? No, we cannot yet because she may lose her job. This is how politically correct we are in our country. This is how bad it is in your side of town or area or what's happening in the United States. But I wanted you to see her because she's available to speak to your group privately anywhere. She's in the area. If you have any group meetings, whatever group meetings, please make sure you speak to her at the end, and she can come and speak to your group and share her story. She is an incredible professor, one of the top and the most prominent universities. She speaks Spanish, English, French, Arabic. That's it, fluently. That's it, fluently. Thank you for being with us tonight. This is Monique. Make sure you keep it in that room. It is rare for me that I travel. Of all the years that I have spoken about somebody who had undergone such a massacre and survived it, this is the first time I actually get to meet somebody from that city. I couldn't wait to meet her tonight. So we had dinner together. We had a wonderful dinner together, and boy, does she have stories to tell. And it is enlightening. And when we talk about our past is America's future, believe me, we know what we're talking about, because we came from the past and we see the writing on the wall. When the war started in Lebanon and people started saying, we hate you, we want to transform your country, you don't deserve your country, we're going to take it and we're going to do something with it, and we're going to do this, 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 and that. And we didn't believe them. We said, oh, they're crazy, they don't really mean it. In America today, we see the same thing happening. All we have to do is look at Europe and the transformation of Europe. Lebanon is gone. We lost our country of birth. That's why we are here in America. A lot of Europeans are fleeing their countries because they're losing their countries, because they have important people into their countries who do not share their values. It's not about color, it's not about skin, it's not about gender, it's not about faith, it's about values. When you import people to your country who tell you, we hate you, we don't like your system, we want to change your country, and because it's a democratic society, we're going to run and get elected to office, and when we get up there, we're going to start changing things, believe them. Because we have seen it happen in Europe, and we're starting to see it happen in the United States. So why should we be concerned in the United States? We should be concerned because of something called the Muslim Brotherhood, which a lot of people do not want to talk about, or maybe they heard, but they do not really know much about them. You see, the Muslim Brotherhood is the oldest terrorist Islamic organization in the world, founded in 1927 in Egypt, and today has 70 offshoot organizations across the world, including Al-Qaeda, Hamas, and ISIS. The leader of ISIS, al-Baghdadi, was in one of our prisons in 2011 as a leader of the Muslim Brotherhood before he started ISIS. Remember when he was leaving prison, he said, I'll see you in New York? Somehow we never listen to people. We need to start listening to what our enemies are saying. So the Muslim Brotherhood brought a plan, a 100-year plan for radical Islam to infiltrate and dominate the West and establish an Islamic government on earth. In the counterterrorism circles, this plan became known as the Project. What makes the project so unique is they give tactics and proposals as to how to infiltrate the West, how to use our open-mindedness against us, how to use our tolerance against us. They talk about how to open up, start civil rights organizations and human rights organizations, and maintain an appearance of moderation to advance the Islamic cause in the West. They talk about how to get democratically elected Muslims on all levels in the West, and by the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, so they can influence policy. They talk about how to get Muslim interns in all offices in the West so they can have a bird's eye view as to how policy is done on the highest levels. They talk about how to work with like-minded, quote, progressive organizations that share similar goals, meaning organizations that hate their Western nations, like in Europe or in the United States. When you look at CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, working with the ACLU, you scratch your head and you think to yourself, how can these two people have anything in common? When you look at the Sons of Poverty Law Center working with Linda Sarsour, or when you see Linda Sarsour working with Planned Parenthood, or when you see them working, Linda Sarsour, the Palestinian radical now, who is the co-chair of the Women's March, you think to yourself, all these women live? How they can put up with the Sharia, adherent, Sharia-loving radical? Who believes women in Saudi Arabia have more freedom than women here? How could they make her the co-chair of the Women's March? But she said, tell them what Sarsour means. Cockroach is the last name. That's what it means. Literally. That's what it means in Arabic. Just remember, Sarsour means cockroach in Arabic. So this is where we are. The reason I bring up the Muslim Brotherhood is because the Brotherhood plan was written in 1982, and they started implementing it in Europe. And when you look at Europe, the transformation of Europe from 1982 till 1992, till 2002, till 2012, here we are 2019, they have had a lot of time. You know, they say an overnight success takes 20 years. So all of a sudden you look at Europe today, and Europe is no longer Europe. It has become Eurasia. And that was before Angela Merkel allowed all the refugees to come in the last 2 years because of the Syrian war.
Croc TV.